Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah if you're new here, and we're doing another vlog today. In this video, I am going to be reading the oldest books that have been on my TBR, the ones that I've had on my to be read pile the longest. Some of it is I haven't had access to the book, some of it is I'm not in the mood, and some of it is, well, I'm a little intimidated. And we're gonna rectify that in this vlog. The first book I have physically, and I kind of have no excuse for waiting this long, is A Promise of Blood by Brian McCullen. This is one of my husband's favorite series, and he read this first one when we were still in college. And I've been out of college for a bit. I believe he read this in 2013. I remember we went on a date to Barnes & Noble together where he picked this book up in paperback and read it, and has now read the trilogy and the spin-off trilogy associated with this series. Haven't gotten around to it, and it's been almost 10 years, and I think it's finally time for me to just bite the bullet and pick up this book. The next two books, I have one audiobook and one ebook from the library at the moment. The ebook that I have is called The Abyss Surrounds Us by Emily Strutsky. This is a young adult sci-fi duology. It's about queers and a giant space monster. It's been on my TBR since 2017. You know, for one reason and the other, young adult just hasn't been appealing to me as much as it did in the past. However, this is a book that I've kept on my TBR through several purges of TBR books. This actually still really appeals to me, and I'm really excited to finally get to this. And I also have the sequel, so if I really like this first book, I can read the sequel pretty quickly thereafter. The audiobook I have is called Princesses Behaving Badly, Real Stories from History Without the Fairy Tale Endings by Linda Rodriguez McRobbie. This is a nonfiction book about ladies in history. Little vignettes about these different historical figures. Good morning, everyone. I wanted to do an initial update for A Promise of Blood. Last night I was able to read 100 pages, which is pretty awesome for me, and I have thoughts, and I'll try to be brief. The first thing is, I wish that this had opened in an action sequence. We are following four main characters, it seems, and the one main character, Adamat, is coming up to the palace right after a coup has happened, and so we're getting the aftermath of the coup, and I think it would have been more interesting if we had gotten the coup as it was happening. So that would be a great way to showcase the magic system, because I don't know, the way the magic system explanation is going in these first 100 pages is pretty sloppy in my opinion. But we are getting some action sequences now, so like practical examples of the magic. There is a character who is repeatedly referred to as a savage. She is from the far north, so she's got like she's got very pale skin, like green eyes, freckles, red hair, and she's mute. I hope that she eventually uses sign language. That would be great. She's constantly referred to as a savage, which isn't great, and she also is a child, or they think she's a child. She looks to be about 14 years old, and they've already made some jokes about her friend getting with her, and he's like a grown man, which is gross and disgusting, and I hate it. And from what my husband says, that is the man who ends up with her, and she's not actually 14, she's older than she looks, which is still gross for old men to be lusting at these women who appear like children. It's still fucked up. There's that. The other big thing I wanted to say is I really don't like how this author names things. Characters, places, cities, etc., etc. It's like he was pulling things from different languages. A big thing for me is the language is a huge part of the world building, and language grounds your world building. The names sound Russian and English and American and German at times, and so it just seems like the world building isn't grounded in a single language, and it's really not cohesive at all with the naming of things, and it doesn't feel like they are even a part of the same world. I'm not hating this by any means. I'm actually flying through it pretty quickly. I'm just not loving this, and I'm honestly trying to keep an open mind with this. It's just, I can't help but see the issues with it. I hope that it picks up. I'm not really in love with any of these main characters we've got so far, so we're doing okay. Zoodles and a mimosa. This is my view. This is my body. This is my tummy, and this one is on my tummy, and that one's on my legs. Those are my toes. I'm trapped forever. I actually painted my nails for the first time in like 6 months, and it feels nice. And I actually read some of the audiobook that I have, which is Princesses Behaving Badly. It's the nonfiction I have for this video. And I read about 2 hours of it, and it is going okay. It's very, very fast. It is focusing on so many different women throughout history that it's not devoting a ton of time and energy and care with every single one of them. They're just getting kind of listed off, and their life story is being kind of like bullet pointed, it seems, and then we move on to the next person, which I would prefer if we'd focused on a few historical figures and really delved into their history and their life and their impact, as well as like going through the research behind that, because this is also not like, it is researched. I can tell it's very well researched, but the person is not like citing their sources in the text. It's all in a bibliography at the end. And I honestly, in this scenario, would like to know what their sources are for some of this, because there are some women that are mythologized and some that aren't even real, or that we can't even prove that are real. So it would be interesting to know what the historical record is for those people. This also, the narrative, the way that the author is writing is super candid and almost casual, and it feels like she's almost not taking me seriously as a reader, or she is writing for a younger target audience. Like, this feels like it's really good for like teenagers, like 13, 14-year-olds, and not adult grown people. For example, one of the women doesn't take any crap from anybody else, and that feels very flippant to say in a nonfiction. So I'm not happy necessarily with the tone or the way that these women are being handled. The content itself is interesting, and I do like learning about historical women that often get overlooked. However, I don't know if this particular work is executed particularly well according to my personal preferences and reading tastes. It's my pizza. I started and read about 25% of The Abyss Surrounds Us by Emily Strutsky, and I am DNFing this. Not because it's bad, but this is just an age range that is not for me anymore. Typically,
It really has to grab me in that first 25% for me to stick with a young adult these days, and I just can't handle being in this teenager's head right now. And it's nothing to do with her as a character, and has everything to do with me as a reader and what my reading preferences are. She's blaming herself for literally everything going wrong in her life, and I'm like, you are a child. It is not your fault. So I'm DNFing that one and continuing to read the other 2 books for this video.
Hello everyone. I am actually up at my family cabin for New Year's Eve, and we are so cozy in here. I've got the fireplace on, blasting some heat in here. There's like 3 or 4 feet of snow outside. So I am going to be continuing to read Promise of Blood. And I did actually finish the nonfiction Princesses Behaving Badly, and I ended up giving it 3 stars overall. It was not very deep, but it was very broad. So it covered so many historical figures very shallowly. I think that's fine if that's what you're looking for. I was just hoping for a little bit more depth. And again, I will say the tone of the writing was just a little off for me. It was a little flippant. And again, that's fine. It just wasn't for me personally in terms of my reading tastes. So I ended up giving that a 3 stars. I am 200 pages into Promise of Blood, and this actually gave me a nightmare. There are these creatures called the Wardens that are like mutant fighters, and it really creeped me out. So yeah, this is going okay. I'm still like kind of enjoying it. It's very compulsively readable, but I'm not loving it, is kind of my overall thought. Everything I said before still stands true, with the like very slight misogyny. Like every woman has to be described in terms of her beauty, not necessarily her body, which is better, but it's like she was beautiful or she was ugly, or there was varying beauties working in the kitchen, and it's like, so their only value is for their looks. Anyway, so there's like just some of that pulls me out a little bit as a reader who's particularly perceptive to that particular thing. But yeah, I do want to finish this weekend. Hello everyone. It has been several days, but I did finally finish A Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan, and this was 3 stars for me. It was just okay. It was a lot of action, very easy to read. There was just those few things that I've been mentioning throughout this vlog about things that have been sticking out to me, that have been bothering me, a little bit of sexism, misogyny, some toxic masculinity. There's specifically one line that I read in this last chunk about how a lesser man would be taking opiates because this character got shot and he was just running around like he hadn't been shot. A lesser man would take pain meds. As a chronic pain sufferer, I find that level of thinking insufferable and really toxic. And the way we treat people who are in pain in this mindset is atrocious. In any case, the plot itself was probably a 3-star vibe for me. This is, I kind of knew this would not be a super hit for me. Military fantasy, but I was hoping it would be a little bit better for me. I'm much more into politics, and if there's military campaigning going on, I like it to be like secondary to the politics. And this was very much so. Betrayal after betrayal after betrayal after battle after battle after battle. So not really for me. So in this vlog, we DNF'd The Abyss Surrounds Us. I completed A Promise of Blood and Princesses Behaving Badly. Both were 3-star vibes. So this experiment Wasn't a total success, but we were able to read some books that have been on my TBR the longest, at the very least. Thank you so much for watching this vlog, and I will see you in another video of mine very soon. Bye.